Me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Game now, me and you, we ain't the same now. Lions coming out to play now. Opposition out the way now. Out of the way. You wasn't invited. Say you come to play. I dare you to try it. You don't wanna try me. Don't step up to my team. Yeah, out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way. Yeah, yeah. Out of the way.
Live from iRacing's virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 8th and final round of the 2023 Real Sim Racing IceBreaker Winter Series. We're happy to have you with us as we get set to go night racing into the afternoon and through the sunset here virtually in the entertainment capital of the world at America's Racing Show Place. We're happy that you're with us. Joshua Lee, our producers downstairs, with Nolan Rempel and myself, Evan Pasoko. We are just a mere about an hour, Nolan, away from crowning maybe another first-time Winter Series champion, and the story of the night is Agno Phillip. He made that big surprise back in 2022 with the Cup Series championship, and now looking to become one of only 2 drivers to ever take a title in both of RSR's Premier Series.
It's going to be a fun race for sure, and as we mentioned before, Agno Phillip looking to see if he can snag that title as well as with the Winter Series here in this one. He's already got one under his belt, now he's just got to try to go for that second notch, and he will have the full RSR sweep, and I have a feeling it should be a fairly easy walk-off win for him tonight. All he's got to do is keep that thing clean, unless he has something go catastrophically wrong and finishes in that bottom 10.
Yeah, that's the key, is he will enter tonight as we take a look at this Las Vegas Motor Speedway with a hefty margin that does not yet mathematically secure him the title, but is going to mean that something would have to go very wrong, and this racetrack is in that standard of the intermediate class, 1.5 miles in length. It is not a racetrack that is known for being one where it's going to be a wreck fest, or it's going to be, a lot of driver mistakes. This is one where there is good multi-groove racing, but this is not a track that I would feel too nervous about if Agno Phillip coming into this one. But the reason you run all 8 races is because anything can happen, and yet again, it is a night race here in Las Vegas where we will crown the RSR IceBreaker Winter Series champion. 7 down and 1 to go. 100 laps on the board tonight, Nolan, as well. That falls in line with some of the other races we've seen this year, including one at an intermediate racetrack at Asheville back in December. Not a long race, almost a sprint of sorts, and these night races where there's a little bit more grip tend to go by a tad quicker as well. As you see, Agno Phillip's advantage, 23 points over Michael Araya. There's the only 2 eligible drivers, and a fun fight though for third as well that'll be decided here tonight.
Tied between Cody Harris and Tom Wetmore, both those drivers sitting just outside of the cusp of being able to mathematically go for the title at 41 points back from the current leader, Agno Phillip. And from there, it's still got about another 14 points back to the likes of Jason Stanley, who will round out the top 5. But Stanley himself still embroiled in a fierce 3-way battle for that last spot in the top 5 between himself, Andrew Phipps, and Grant Davis. All 3 of those drivers separated by just 3 points as well. So while the fight for the overall championship might be all but decided, bar anything major that happens in this race, still got a whole lot of fights up and down throughout the field that have yet to be decided by the end of this one.
And there is the man of the hour. Agno Phillip is on track as qualifying is underway here in Las Vegas. Philip on his first time lap of this 5-minute session, just about a minute and 40 seconds or so left until this field is determined. Looking at a pretty healthy grid size as well here for a season finale. 33 cars of 40 possible ready to go racing at Agno Phillips. First lap time going to come in on the board, and it is going to be in the second position as they run action. No, sorry, second from the bottom. So a bit of ways to go. Not surprised by that, Nolan. We're expecting that these drivers use that opening lap to kind of wind these cars up. And the target time right now, Liam Sheen, provisional pole, 3:01.71. Let's see what the championship leader can do as he comes off of 4.
Coming off of turn number 4, Phillip will cross the line, taking all the advantage out of that apron, jumps over the grass. He can do that, though, because it's after his lap, and it'll be provisional pole, 30.115. That's up by a good few hundredths of a second. Not much when you compare it to road course times on an oval. That is a huge, huge margin that's going to be very tough to beat, especially as the likes of Cody Harris can so far only put down to 30.52 for near the bottom of the boards. Harris has got to hope that he can do one better here and see if he can put himself a bit closer up to that top. He's got 4/10 to make up.
And Cody Harris's 30.520 is his opening lap. Again, that's the throwaway for all of these drivers. So let's see what the improvement is here as he comes off of 4. He's looking to pick up about 0.3 of a second and change. He'll go from way down to top 6, but it is not enough to challenge Phillip at the top of the board at Agno. Phillip might make this one not even close. The other major storyline, Michael Laraya, you can see as the clock ticks and ticks away, is in a top 5 position with at least a fighting chance of making some noise here in the desert. So qualifying will run to a close. Again, no knockout qualifying going to be necessary in this one. I just wanted to take a minute before we get down to the grid, Nolan, to talk about Agno Phillips' starts, which I think has been one of the most impressive things of him this season, right? 2-time race winner in 7 starts. It's a decent enough stat. But the big thing is, in the 7 races so far this year, he has sat on pole for 5, now maybe 6 of them. That is the most impressive stat for me. He has also only finished outside of the top 10 one single time, and that was a DNF.
And I think that really kind of tells a thing or two, right? The fact that he's been able to put on such a dominant performance, 5 pole positions, 6 top 10s, and it's worth mentioning, out of those times when he finishes the top 10, you can rack those up to top 5s as well. Phillip has so far finished in the top 5 in all but 1 race that he has competed in, and 2 of those have been translated into race wins. It's the consistency game, right? He doesn't have the most wins out of anybody. Well, he might have in this series, but we even talked about this in the overall Cup series. You don't need to have the most wins. You just have to have the most consistent finishing position. And that's what made him such a force to contend with, especially in that later half of the season.
It really did, and that's what the big storyline as we went through the fall months there and into the playoffs was the consistency of Agno Phillip, which he used to keep himself in the conversation, ultimately coming down to that final race at which he edged out guys like Kevin King, Andrew Freenosh, and Matt Danson, just a who's who at RSR competition to win the Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series title. Now he looks for RSR Championship number 2. Let's go trackside and take a look at your RealSimRacing starting grid for tonight's Las Vegas 150, and it is pole position number 6 of 2023. Agno Phillip is on pole, and he will start alongside the O2 of Liam Sheen in second. Andrew Phipps will roll from the number 3 position. It is Michael Laraya, championship hopeful and long shot, on the outside of row 2 at 4th, ahead of both Michael, or I should say William Schmidt, and Cody Harris, who are making up row number 3.
Thomas George brings up row number 4 with Ryan Dunkelberger beside him in that 8th position. Grant Davis and Tom Wetmore will be bringing up the top 10 in row number 5. Sam Nieto for Flat of Esports will put his Discount Tire and Pennzoil number 2 Mustang up there in 11th spot in row number 6 with Brady Whitaker beside him in the XBM number 48 in row number 6 and 12th.
Nicholas Mara is going to find himself in the lucky number 13 starting spot tonight alongside the 14 James Ross, Brett Punkari, and Kyle Trudell on row 8 with Manatsi Major and Jared Winemaster, your top 18.
Rounding down through the field, 19th place got Corey Blevins with Richard Woodrow to round out the top 20. It's Ross Cato, Sean Casto, Steve Durham, and Gregory Shaw from 21st to 24th.
And towards the rear, it's going to be Fetterpace, Flores, Staney, and Kaczynski. The final drivers in on time. A couple of drivers neglect to put a lap time down in qualifying provisionals. Will grid Tice, Grindle, Tucker, Mara, Edwards, and Rodriguez. That's a look at your 34 cars ready to go racing in this Las Vegas 150, 100 laps around this 1.5-mile super speedway. Means 150 miles to the end of the race. You can see track conditions pretty cool for the desert. Sun is down. Sunset conditions were seen throughout practice, but this is a full-on nighttime event, and no better place to do it than the neon capital of the world. It's been another great season of RSR Winter Series competition as this 8th season comes to a close. We appreciate you being with us with a Monday night here once again on RaceSpotTV. Pace car down and in. The field in the hands of the championship leader, Agno Phillip, as we say, let's go racing in Vegas. Opening lap going to be led by Phillip. The top two pull away just a little bit. Sheen hot on his heels. The battle behind is going to be for third. And now even Sheen trying to get to the inside of Phillip. Not going to make it happen. Top three, single file, down the Nella straightaway.
Into turn number 3, 2-car breakaway for the race lead. Willie Schmidt trying to make it a 3-car breakaway. Harris is just clear for 4th. Andrew Phipps pushing up the track. He'll cut off the line from Michael O'Reilly, the Sim Speed Shop 44 up on the top shelf. We'll try to get a run now around that outside line, down that front straightaway and back into a very quick turn number 1. Ryan Dunkelberger sits in behind in 7th. Tom Wetmore, see if he can try to establish a move on that outside line as well. But look out as Dunker pushes up and almost gets into the wall off of 2.
That wall comes up quick off of 2, and again, because that tri-oval cuts out a little bit of the turn radius of 3 and 4, turn 2 comes up much quicker than 4 does. It makes the characteristics of either end of this speedway much different from one another, and you can see the number 51, Wetmore, tucks in line behind Ryan Dunkelberger there. He'll settle for the number 8 spot at the moment. Now the 18 car looking to the outside off of 2, and into the outside wall goes Dunkelberger, and up front for the race lead, here comes Liam Sheen. Down on the inside of Phillip, they'll fight for the race lead off of turn 4.
Already, though, Phillip establishing the momentum from that outside line. The A51 Pro Chevrolet has got the speed, but Sheen's got the line from the bottom side. Dead heat down to the turn number 1. Sheen just barely pokes the nose of the Elliott Sadler Esports Chevy up ahead, but look out as he's going to wash up with that dirty air. Again, outside run goes to Phillip, who's going to try to pull that one high and wide around the top side. It's still going to be side by side down to the turn numbers 3 and 4. Neither driver looking like they want to be yielding just yet in this one.
And we'll see if this battle continues. What does it do for the cars behind? Schmidt, Harris in close pursuit, 3rd and 4th respectively, but it'll be the 02 car bowing out. Sheen falls back in line 2nd. Agno Phillip doesn't give up a lap led despite the charge there by Sheen. Now behind them, Harris going to go to the outside of the 7-9 of Schmidt. This one in the battle for 3rd and 4th position. Inside did not treat Sheen well when he tried to pass there, so Harris going to go to the outside. We talk about the multi-groove characteristics of this speedway. Harris using the run off of the corners for having that banking help him out. It's going to hurt him on entry, though, but the 79 car is going to have to deal with those bumps in the center of 1 and 2. Looking to wash up, and on the outside, Harris makes a nice clean pass. He's up 3 spots already and into a race high in 3rd.
Schmidt's going to tuck in line at 4. You can see him taking a tighter entry that's going to really hurt his tires the further and further we get into this run. You can see a good chunk of the field has got himself single-filed out in the background. Michael O'Reilly headed up a good trade of cars. We look back to Grant Davis and Wetmore along with Dunkelberger, and got a couple guys making a few looks in behind, and among them San Nieto just tried to lunge one down the inside of the turn one, but no room. There is an advantage, obviously, to making that tighter entry, right? You're able to potentially scare your opponent to run it a bit wide, but it does burn that right side up a fair bit more, and that's going to be one thing to watch out for as guys in the end continue to take these tight entries, and you can already tell it started to cost some of them on exit.
And there's the good onboard look with Sam Nieto on the bottom of your screen, rocking the VR goggles, and that's kind of what I'm looking at. 4 and 10 on the steering wheel, right? Kind of cheating it a little bit, so he's most comfortable in the corners. He's got that perspective from 10th on the racetrack right now. The two drivers he's looking at, the Dunkelberger and Davis crew, and he doesn't need the sim seat, or he's got two. He's got 2 chairs. He's got a co-pilot. I didn't know that we had rally spotters in these stock cars, but nice cat's joining him right there, right-hand side of your screen. You got to be calm behind the wheel. He can't make too much noise. Cat is taking a nap, so make sure Nieto's smooth on the wheel. Don't want to disturb his friend there from sleeping, but he's pretty calm right now. P10, again, not really holding anybody off, but might have to start thinking about what he'll do if he gets up to Dunkelberger, because, again, now the 24 of Davis getting passed up by the 51. There's a lot of fighting happening in front of Sam Nieto, and soon he's going to have to try to make a move. He's running up 1 spot from where he started, and we take a step back. Nicholas Morris, 22 car, the one under fire right now. Whitaker going to make a pass on the outside. Now so does Trudell in the fight for 13th.
You can see Kyle Trudell sweeping around the outside line. The 22 car, Nicholas Mara, keeping it pinned to the bottom. And you can see it's allowing a big run from James Ross. Ross goes top to low, and he'll try to establish a momentum run down in the turn number 3. Coming up on a slow car for the apron, and Matthew Mara fading out of the field. He was already a lap down, started the race, I believe, from the pit lane. So he's going to find himself officially going 1 lap down, as he'll have to let the whole field by. Still side by side to the tri-oval, as we'll make that run down to turn number 1. You can see Wymaster still working the top shelf, and again Ross trying to fight the bottom, but he's being pinched in, and that's not doing anything for him on his corner exit game, and he's being freight trained at the moment from that outside line.
The outside seems to be the place to be to make moves, and if you get stuck on the bottom, it's just so hard to keep up. Look at the 14 and a 99, both trying to use the outside. Behind them, you see the 71, the 12 car in this ongoing battle, and Cato had made up spots early in this race, but all of that forward momentum from the opening 10 laps of this race has just gotten wiped away. Shaw's through, Majors through. Here comes New and Flores to the outside. Grindle wants to join as well, so they are all just teaming up out of poor Cato. And again, on the bottom, realistically, nothing he can do right now.
Had his momentum broken as he had been given a bit of a shot. You had seen that at the tail end of the shot at NASCAR 3-4 that last time by. That's what caused it to get loose, and he's since lost a good 6-7 spots. Result now down to 22nd place. He'll find a hole between Grindel and Joseph Tice as Ross Cato will try to see if he can work that number 12 car further up into this race, the Fast Forward Esports number 12, and hopefully he'll try to see if he can get himself sorted and get himself that momentum reestablished. I think now that he's got himself back on the racing line, he'll be able to do just that, but he's got a whole host of drivers in front of him. He's going to have to contend with first, and he might have to hope for a mistake or two here or there. We'll take a look at a RaceSpotTV replay. This was the 71. Give you that bit of a hit to the 12, and look at the 12 working that wheel to keep that car pointed in the right direction.
Nice bit of wheel in there for Cato to stay in this thing, but he has not been able to recover since. Stuck on the bottom. It was Grindle who just completed that pass on him, and Joseph Tice wants to continue to add insult to injury. He'll go to the Mountain Dew Chevrolet car up on the outside, and over further up the road, more cars almost into each other. That is door to door. Dunkelberger and George for 10th on back. They're 48, the 7, the 23, all in the mix as well. Sam Nieto talking about being calm, cool, and collected. He just got ahead of this group, and good timing. Dunkelberger not done yet. Back underneath George. He gets loose off of 2. Ducks back in line. It is Real Racy here in the midfield.
You saw, though, again, though, Dunkelberger, because he got loose, he got a bit lower, and he had to push up to the wall, and that cost him big time on entry, and now he's under fire from Braden Whitaker. So all of a sudden, Dunkelberger's gone from offense to defense. He's got the 48, working his inside in the Markton Sports 48 car, and behind them, XBM's number 7, Kyle Trudell, looking like he wants to try to follow him through, but Dunkelberger Great on offense and great on defense. He'll push up to the top shelf out of turn number 2, right up against the outside wall of the Mella straightaway. We hightail it down into turns 3 and 4. Whitaker breaks clear. Here comes Trudell trying to follow him through. The 18 being a bit too liberal there on room that he gave on the bottom.
If you give an inch, they're going to take a mile, and that's why you almost have to walk that balance between, yeah, you want to drive smart, you don't want to take somebody out, but also if you give somebody too much room, they're going to use you up. You got to be able to stand your ground, and they're all going to find a spot in line as they cycle off at turn number 2 this time. Dunkelberger, a bit of a run, but he doesn't really want to go to the bottom, and something's wrong with Sam Nieto. We had just checked in with him. He just said over the radio he can't see. I wonder if he lost something on that set of VR goggles, so he pulled that car to the left and stopped. He was emphatic over the radio. I can't see. I can't see. Now he is going to start to roll again. And I'm curious what happened there with Nieto. If he truly lost something on those goggles, even for a moment, it is a great piece of driving, Nolan, that he was able to get off of the racetrack and not only not cause an accident, but not cause a yellow. He's right back on track. It's going to cost him a ton of time, but a great piece of driving. That's heads-up stuff from the driver of the 2 car.
No thanks to his spotter down there, I imagine, from the other gaming chair they had there on the bottom of the screen. But I agree about those. That was about as good as that could have gone for him. Immediately got on the radio, told everybody what was going on when he tried to pull it down low. That gives the heads up that everybody needs to be on the lookout for you in case you happen to not be on the apron when you start to slow down. But great piece of driving. You can tell he knows what he's doing here, and hopefully he'll be able to get himself resorted. Not a lap down. I think that's very critical here. He is still on the lead lap. So if he can get himself a lucky caution here, he can easily get himself right back up into the fight.
So all he needs is 1. Currently, though, he has the last placed car on the lead lap. The only driver further behind him is Matthew Mara, who is a lap down in 33rd position. Mara, I don't believe, took to the grid and then started this race from pit road, so that explains the 1 lap that he's lost. He currently occupies the lucky dog position. You do see a little bit of separation now through your top 10 or so. Checking in at the back of the top 10 right here with Kyle Trudell trying to get up to Whitaker for 10th and 11th position, and it's kind of behind them where a lot of the craziness happened, but you didn't miss anything up front. Agnew Phillip, you can see in the leaderboard, left-hand side of your screen, a full second ahead of Sheen. Championship rival Michael Araya down a spot. He's 1.9 off of the race lead in 5th. That is the tail of the tape so far.
And I can see Braden Whitaker trying to see if he can't get himself properly established and get that momentum back moving forward. You got to keep moving or you're going to be run over from behind. And at the moment, he's got a lot more space between himself and Thomas George than he does between himself and Kyle Trudell. And Trudell looking like he wants to see if he can find a move on the inside, but instead Trudell's going to back off. I think he might be trying to pressure Braden Whitaker into making a mistake here as we run it back through 1 and 2. And I think that could be a very telling move here, right? When you try to back up the corner a little bit so you get yourself in that good run on exit and maybe hope to scare your opponent into pushing a bit too hard on the edge of the next corner, which could see them skirt up into the marbles.
Yeah, it's going to get dirtier and dirtier as the night goes on. Right now, you're looking at the battle for 2nd and 3rd. Liam Sheen has not only fallen off of the back, once upon a time was challenging Agnew Phillip no more than 10 laps ago for the race lead. Now he's gone all the way back into the clutches of Cody Harris. Harris looking to the bottom, not going to make a move that time through. Harris, a race winner this year and an impressive season in his own right. He wants to outrun Tom Wetmore this evening to secure 3rd in the championship and is well on his way to do so, running up at one of the top scoring positions at the moment. Wetmore a little bit behind him, 7th in the running order, but Team's not going to make this easy for them. They are both losing time lap by lap to race the Agnew Phillip. So if Cody Harris wants to get it done quick, he's going to have to try to make something happen. And it looks like Sheen almost leaving that inside open as you take a look at the live points there, not only in the battle for the championship lead, 33 points in favor of Phillip, but a 4-point gap. Harris over Wetmore for 3rd in the points, Nolan. But watch this battle. Cody Harris knows, and Cody Harris has made his moves on the outside, right? We've talked a couple times about how the bottom doesn't really work, and it's almost like Sheen's leaving the bottom open for him, trying to coax the 28 to go there. Harris hasn't bit yet. He doesn't want to go to the bottom, but Sheen's going to make it awfully difficult, I think, for him to get outside of him.
I kind of like that strategy. You can actually see now Harris actually trying to look to take that outside line away. Again, Cody Harris is too smart to fall for that. He knows that inside lane is not good. And he knows that if he goes down, he's going to do nothing but burn his own tires up while he's trying to get around him, which is exactly what Liam Sheen's hoping for. Because now he can just walk away from him when we get closer to the end of this fuel run. But now, you'll be able to see, oh, looks like the goating may have worked. Harris went to the bottom, and that's going to cost him a bit now. Off of turn number 2 down the back straightaway. Sheen took a lower line at 3 and 4 to think that kind of lulled Harris into a false sense of security, and now the roles flip-flop again. Sheen lower in 3 and 4, Harris up higher. That's going to give Harris the run down the front straightaway. Not going to make use of the apron, though, to go on down there to make that pass on the 92 down to turn number 1.
Yeah, continuing to do everything he can to find a way through. Now another 1.4 second gap for the race lead, so they're losing a tenth every single lap around. It's clear Harris better than Sheen at the moment, but again, there's no reason for Sheen to make this easy, and the onus is on Harris. But with each passing lap, the chances of making this a race with Agnew Phillip gets lesser and lesser, and just behind them, you can see the battle between Schmidt and Lariah for 4th and 5th position. That's pretty big as well. Harris aggressive to the apron that time. Almost came up into the left rear quarter panel. Liam Sheen, and now the 92 will pinch that 28 car low on the bottom. They are running real aggressive in this fight for second.
And almost at the back bumper that time around for Cody Harris, trying to see if he can push up to Liam Sheen and make that pass work again. Gets the drive off of turn number 4 while they go side by side for 4th place right behind him. The fight for second continues to be nose to tail, and they run down to turns 1 and 2. Sheen still holding strong, and this time parking that Chevrolet right in the middle of the racetrack, not allowing Harris to get it in. Oh, there's the bumper! A bump and run on lap number 30 as Harris is going to shoot to the inside of 3 and 4.
And they are right on the door of one another. No advantage inside or outside. And into the outside wall goes Liam Sheen. Tried so hard to not allow Harris to get up top, and then when Harris went to the bottom, Liam Sheen overdrove it on the exit. It's going to cost him second. Is it going to cost him third? Lariah can't clear, and an impressive drive that time through for the defensive effort by Liam Sheen to try to stay in front. Now he'll squeeze the 44 down, and that 92 car does not care. He is going to do everything he can to hold on to his positions, but you can clearly tell he's getting desperate as those tires go away on him.
And not to mention, now he's got some right front damage that he has to contend with as well. It's not much, but it is just enough, I think, that it might be having a bit of an impact into how that car is handling in the middle of these corners. And that's where you saw the speed come from Lariah as he made that pass in turns 1 and 2, up for the 3rd position. But worth noting, it is still not nearly enough for Lariah to work his way up to 3rd as long as Agnew Phillip continues to lead the race. A 31-point deficit at the moment that he has to make up on the live standings board. Most notably, though, I think, look at Staney. We talked about him before, about how he was in a fierce fight for that 5th position. Well, he's definitely on the losing end. He's down to the very bottom of that 4-car scrap.
Not the position he wants to be in as they run now, and you can see a couple other drivers in the midfield on those points as well, making gains, making losses. So, well, the championship may not be a razor's edge as they run. Certainly still a lot to race for, including the battle for 10th right now between Whitaker and Trudell. These two have been nose to tail for quite some time. Both in the green. Trudell has picked up 5 positions, but I was going to say that's pretty good, but your biggest mover is only 3 spots behind them, and it's Harry Grindle up 15. Joseph Tice a little bit further back up 13 spots. So a couple of those drivers who didn't queue up and getting provisional times are making moves, and there's a swing to the outside. Grindle not happy yet. He wants more on the outside of Corey Blevins.
Working the outside of the Hasid design, number 99. Meanwhile, Grindel gets the run established, and he'll take the spot away up from the top shelf, and that's going to have a good run for Nicholas Marr. Now he's going to have to go on defense as Grindel tries to make a growing charge, and we'll continue to work ourselves through. Meanwhile, some developing stories up front. Liam Sheen has, well, pulled the plug on this race, it would seem. He is out of the race.
So a tough break for Sheen. Had to mention that he really had nothing to lose there, right? Not in the points, trying to fight for the race win. Gave it a little bit too much, lost the tires on it, and at that point, not much else that Liam Sheen could do. It was just going to be a long, slow drop down the leaderboard, so he has decided to park the car and maybe start thinking about Cup Series practice, because the start of that full throttle Real Sim Racing Cup Series no more than just a month away. Back here again for another season on RaceSpotTV. That's what all of the drivers not in the championship battle are looking forward to, as William Schmidt has indeed been able to get ahead of Andrew Phipps in a battle for 4th and 5th position. So that's one more back in favor of Schmidt. Then you got Lariah all the way back up to 3rd. That's pretty notable. He was as low as P5. So, again, it doesn't matter much in a battle for the title when Phillip is so far ahead. But Lariah sticking in the mix as well, getting ahead of this battle behind him. That'll come side by side off of turn 2.
How about that for William Schmidt? Established that driver on the outside of Andrew Phipps that last time by at 1 and 2, and he made that pass work like a charm. Phipps tried to Lundford down the inside, but there's just no speed anymore on the bottom lane. Not when the rubber is this worn in on these Xfinity cars, and you can tell just how detrimental that inside lane can be now. And Andrew Phipps found that out the hard way. Now he's going to try to look for the top shelf as William Schmidt will hang on to 4th place. Andrew Phipps running the top side. Now he's going to have the overspeed down the back straightaway.
He's the one that's going to make the big swing this time through, as Phipps just lost it, and he's going to lose a ton of ground. Going to try to keep it nose to the inside of that Bowie Esports 25 car, but it's not going to happen. So the 79 car of Schmidt gets loose, and it is Andrew Phipps who takes advantage. He jumps back up into the number 4 spot, and again, we're going to see a lot of this all night. My points earlier talking about this virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Nolan, on a spinner off of turn 4. It's the 5 car who's gone around. That's Joseph Tice. He has rear damage on that car. You'll see it as he drives by. There it is, mainly left rear focus, so that would imply he had some help. Let's take a look.
Got some help indeed. That was from Sean Castle sent around. Oh, and he got tagged a second time by, I think that was Flores, and he spun it down into pit row, but no caution because he didn't impede any traffic, and he decided to take that car down to pit road. So the damage didn't come from the initial hit from Castle. It actually came from the secondary hit from Flores here, and you'll see this here. He's all fine here, a slight tap, and then just gets run over again, and that's what finishes the job.
Yeah, it was that second hit. You saw the sparks or the bodywork kind of come flying off. It really wasn't the first touch that was the issue. It was the second hit. And because we're only about 10 laps away from halfway home in this race, Joseph Tice, already having been spun to pit road, just decides to come down to the pit lane and get service. As we look back now to this battle between Phipps and company, it's all for about 4th or 5th on back, and a nice slide job there for Tom Wetmore to get up in front of Schmidt, but it's not going to matter. The 79 going to go right back down to the bottom. This is what Vegas is known for, Nolan. It's not known for big wrecks and a big attrition. It's known for great multi-groove racing like this. And we have these packs of 4 cars here and 5 cars there and 3 cars over there where it seems like they can't get away from each other. And that's true, because it's so easy to make a pass on somebody, but if you're going to give something to make a pass, like a slide job for Wetmore there, you're going to have to take a move from somebody else trying to cross you back over. So there's plenty of passing opportunities all throughout the field, and that's why we're seeing such a shuffle in the running order from what we started with just 42 laps ago.
It's amazing that we're not even a half hour in and already we're nearing the halfway point in this final race in the Real Sim Racing IceBreaker Winter Series season finale. These races do just absolutely fly by, and you know, they say time flies and having fun, and that is an absolutely demolished number 18 car of Ryan Dunkelberger down in 26th position now and tumbling down the timing order. He was running, though, for spots near the back, and I'd be shocked if this was not with some sort of help. We'll take a look at the replay as he heads into turn number 1.
Yeah, let's see. He's going to be on the inside here. A couple of cars up top. The 14's there. They're alongside each other. Thought maybe they slid up on the exit. Oh, that was late. You would think contact like that, Nolan, would be right on the exit at 2, but that was well down the straightaway at a tricky angle. Almost looked like the 14 came off the wall a little bit late. But whatever the case was, those 2 cars met each other. They both got into the wall. No yellow, though. Again, it only involves 2 cars, so race control will not step in, and that's a tough break for both of those cars.
especially for Matthew Mara, and Matthew Mara was just able to get himself around, and now San Vieto making the call to pit road, and this is not a scheduled stop is what we're hearing. He's had more problems on the visual side of things. He lost his screen for a brief moment, and now he's down to pit road, and he's, I'd imagine, just going to try to call it quits here at this point. He actually came to another full stop over in turns 1 and 2 for a few seconds, and we were taking a look at that replay of what happened to Dunkelbergers, and that's why we see him now 1 lap down. So that's not a planned stop, and I think that's going to be about it then for San Vieto's night, as we'll check back into your fight for second.
Yeah, it's tough. He was able to stave off the first issue there, commended him on that, but sounds like if it's a recurring issue that he may just end up bringing that car behind the wall, and if that is the case, that is a tough break for him after having a decent enough night. Talked about him running on the cusp and then at one point inside of the top 10, and then it's all going to go away due to those unfortunate technical issues for him. Two cars that look very similar depending on how fast they're going, but this is the fight between the number 28 machine of Cody Harris and the 44 Michael Araya. Araya trying to get closer to Phillip in his hopes that something goes wrong for the 94 car and he could win this championship, because it's already mathematically improbable enough as is, right? We talked about the gap, 23 points between the two of them coming into this afternoon. There's only 33 cars in this race, right? So that's 10 enough as is. You see the gap sits at 31 as they run now. But if Lariah were to finish this race in second, even if that means that Agnew Phillip would have to finish all the way down in as much as, I think, 27th, 29th, because it's a point per position. But if he could win this race and get that 5-point boost, it's a little bit more helpful. So Lariah is doing everything he can, but Harris is holding him up.
See a few drivers down in the pit road, including the likes of Nicholas Mara. I see Kuczynski is down in the lane as well, along with others. These are all further down the field. Matthew Mara just made a trip down to pit road, but more and more drivers are joining that list. Phipps just made the call that he's going to be coming to pit road. He's pitting from that 4th position. The 25 car going to be making a late entry. That's a hot entry as well. Power slide 25 car and still trying to lock it down. Manages to get stopped, though, before he can get that black flag. He's got a whole host of drivers coming in with him, including the likes of Y-Master. You've got George in with him. Flores is in. So it's about to get busy here on pit road right around the halfway mark.
It makes sense. These drivers, as always, give it as many as 4 additional sets of tires, but you don't need it in a short sprint race like this. And as we get set to cross the halfway point, expect everybody to come down pit road and get their one and only stop for those who have been able to stay on scheduled service. You can see the 20 car going to slow coming down on the apron. That's going to be pit service for Brandon Fetterplace. Kyle Trudell is down pit road as well. You already mentioned the likes of Flores and others. Kuczynski's already completed service. Major's already completed service. Looks like Chris Edberg's going to join on pit road. The question is, what does race leader Agnew Phillip do? You don't want to pit too early because you're going to put yourself a lap down. If there's a quick yellow, you trap yourself. That's really kind of the only thing that could trip up the 94. So he may actually wait a little bit longer than usual just to avoid that. I'm surprised Lariah is not going for the undercut to get away from Harris, because with every passing lap, the 28's holding him up. You're just losing time.
Wholeheartedly agree with you on that one, and that's going to be a rough ride for Lariah if he doesn't choose to make that trip down to the pit road in a big hurry here, and still not going to make that call. He's still going to stay out, so maybe Lariah's got some sort of strategy that he's going to try to pull off here. Richard Woodruff just made his trip down to pit road, and Woodruff has got some right rear damage as well in those of the number 27 cars, so implying that perhaps he has had a couple of scrapes of the wall himself over the past little laps. That's been there for well over 10 laps at this point, though, so he has had that for some time. Here come another pair. That's Sean Casto and Corey Blevins, both making their trips down to the lane.
Yeah, they're both going to scoot on down. They are in a battle for 12th and 13th together, so how quick they can get in and out of pit road to aid them as well. There's a nice little move there ahead of the 75 car through the corner by the 12. So Ross Cato making or 79, I should say, not 5 of Schmidt. Cato making a nice slide up in front in the battle for 6th position to give it to him. Still waiting on, I think, the top 11. Now top 10, because Steve Durham is down pit road, and over the radio channel, race leader Agnew Phillip says that he is also coming to pit road. So here it is for the race leader and for the championship leader. Final green flag pit stop of the year.
And Cody Harris is going to be making his run down to the pit lane as well, right behind him. So that's going to leave Lariah to pick up the on-track race lead at the moment, though I think still going to be around net P3 by the time everything cycles on through. So Lariah hangs on to the lead. He'll get the bonus points for leading a lap here in the IceBreaker Winter Series season, although at this point in time, while yes, he needs every point he can get, I don't think it's going to really matter in the long scheme of things. And Phillip, no black flags for him on the pit entry. I wonder if maybe he's trying to go for the overcut, right? He'll have fresher tires for the rest of the race. Although, again, it still isn't going to matter if Phillip finishes anywhere at 20th place on up.
Yeah, and I think, you could stay in sync with Phillip, but really what's it going to do you, right? You want to get off cycle. You just want to try something to mix it up as the 35 now. Brett Pancari is coming down to the pit lane. That was a little bit close on the inside wall. A couple more drivers chatting that they're going to be headed down to the pit lane this time as Michael Araya gets some laps led. That is important to note that maybe that was the objective because it is the single bonus point. Man, is that 44 car flying onto pit road, trying to get everything he can out of it.
I made it work. No black flags yet. One thing I'm noticing, you can see the laps of when drivers last came down to pit road on the timing boards at the moment. Look at just the Tice pitted way back on lap 38. Is that enough for them to make it to the end on the one-stopper from here?
I would think that's about as close as you want to get. I think you could probably do mid-60s to high 60s. So, again, a couple of drivers were forced to pit earlier from circumstances that they didn't want. I think they're going to be okay. These fuel cells are unrestricted, as Lariah and Wetmore, by the way, both completing that service, which means Phillip, as he drives through the tri-oval now, going to pass those cars that are being serviced on the pit lane, and he goes right back to the top of the board. So because of the green flag pit cycle, it will not be a perfect night for Phillip because he gives up 3 laps led to Michael Araya. But again, for everything that we've seen out of him so far tonight, fastest in practice, pole in qualifying, and dominant so far, Phillip not using that point buffer as a safety net. He is finishing with his foot on the gas and now is 44 laps away from maybe winning this RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series title.
I think we kind of put a little bit of an asterisk on those 3 laps led because, I mean, if Phillip, for all intents and purposes, has led every single lap that he's actually been on the racetrack for, as I think it's worth noting at that point. You can see Trudell trying to look around the top side of Andrew Phipps, and he'll steal 3rd place away as he'll rip it out onto the top shelf, and Trudell clears down to turn number 3. So that right there is a good indicator of just how good that outside line is right now, even when you compare guys that might not necessarily be on exactly the same tire strategy.
Yeah, there's a decent bit of variance. Some cars have pitted as many as 19 laps ago, some as few as 2 laps ago, but they're all within the same ballpark. Harris isn't going to do a ton to get to Phillip at 3.3 seconds back because they're on the same tires. Again, there's a question. Trudell pitted earlier, Phipps pitted earlier, so somebody like a Michael Araya who loses spots in all of this, right? He's probably going to be able to get around those 2 cars again. He was looking at 2nd before the pit cycles. He's down in 5th, but I don't think that's, again, truly indicative because he's quicker than a couple of cars ahead of him, and in fact is trying to make a move on Phipps now in a battle for 4th.
Lariah closing up to the back bumper. He was among the last of the drivers to pit along Tom Wetmore. He'll look to the inside, and he'll shoot for the inside. Get around Andrew Phipps. Put Michael Araya back up into 4th, exactly where he started earlier in this race. And he's got fresher tires as well than Kyle Trudell. So while Trudell has made his way up from 16th to 3rd on the racetrack, expect him to fall down to 4th here before too long as Michael Araya, among one of the fastest cars at the moment, out there on the racetrack.
Maybe it would be some extent of a consolation if Michael Araya could maybe end the season with a race win. Again, it's a year to be proud of. 3 top 5s, 6 top 10s. The difference came in just that X factor, right? I mean, you compare 6 top 10s in 7 weeks so far. It's a pretty good stat, but when the guy that you're trying to chase has got 6 top 5s in the same amount of starts, it's tough. It's a good stat, but when the guy you're chasing has got 5 poles and you've got none, it's hard to do more with it, and Phillip going to race hard until the very end. Cross it over the 14 machine there of James Ross, which will put Ross down a lap.
And I can see Phillip taking the laps over onto 39 to go, entering these final, about to enter the final third of the race in a few laps time here. You'll check back in on Braden Whitaker along with the 22 car of Nicholas Mara. The Chicago Cubs Mustang going to try to keep the Martin Sports Chevy at bay as Whitaker tries to look for the low side in the 1 and 2, but it's going to be a much better arcing line by Nicholas Mara. That's going to result in the run down the back straightaway, and Whitaker's momentum going to stall out. And all the while, you've got Steve Tucker in 10th place, just kind of sitting in the wings and waiting to see if any of these guys are going to make any kind of mistake that could allow him to sneak up and maybe just swipe an extra spot away as he will just chill out and see if any one of these guys might see if they want to give him up a free spot.
It is a part of racing when you get long green flag runs to, you know, knowing that you've got a fast car, but kind of pick and choose your battles, right? Put pressure, make somebody else make the mistake. We saw it out of Sheen earlier, right? Sheen was under fire, and then when the car got underneath, he overdrove it, and he made the mistake, right? Make the other guy make the mistake. Don't put yourself in that situation, and they just want to race this one out old-fashionedly. It's Whitaker on the inside, Mara on the outside. In a battle for 8th and 9th position, there are 37 laps to go in the Las Vegas 150. Right behind them, Tucker fighting side by side with the 24 of Grant Davis. So a couple of pairs racing through turns 1 and 2. Harris behind them, Davis, I should say, wins out in the battle against Steve Tucker. And now we wait to see who's the victor between these two. But tell you what, for being on the bottom, Braden Whitaker is sure doing a good job. And that's where those 3-lap better tires come in. And he will clear Nicholas Mara.
Put Braden Whitaker up into 8th, and all that's allowed for Tucker and now Grant Davis to close in a bit more. And Davis on the fresher rubber will start to look around the outside line. And that's the difference between even a few lap fresher tires. Davis immediately pulls around and clears Nicholas Mara from the outside to move up to 9th. Expected to get Braden Whitaker here. Potentially by the time they get back around to turn 1. Oh, maybe not quite. Got checked up by the 48 on the entry to 3. He'll have to settle this one in turns 1 and 2 this time by as they'll cross over into lap number 66.
The 24 car is the one cooking right now. Davis has got a little bit better tires than Mara, then Whitaker, and he's going to be able to use that tire advantage on the 48, just like we saw Whitaker do in the battle with Mara not that long ago. And now Grant Davis will drive off into the night sky. His next car going to be Thomas George, 2 seconds up the road. 5 lap better tires. It could be maybe as good as a top 6 by the time this one's done, although again Davis has got a little bit of work to do still, but I think that's probably his threshold given his current track position. And we talked about Michael Lariah cycling out of that pit cycle into 5th. You can see the leaderboard left-hand side of your screen. He is up to 3rd, so almost all the way back to where he was before the pit cycle began. Still trying to close in, though, on Cody Harris. They were in that battle, but Lariah is still 2 seconds off of the 28 car.
See the biggest movers and shakers so far, and in terms of the move up through the field, Steve Tucker, I believe, has the most spots gained out of anybody. That's plus 18, if I'm reading that correctly, over on the left-hand side of the timing screens, though he still sits way back in 13th place. He's about to lose a spot here as well to Sean Casto. So he'll drop down to 17 spots gained. The driver that's lost the most by far has got to be Liam Sheen, down 31 positions, and I think it's pretty safe to say exactly why he lost all those spots after he decided to pull the plug early on his race. Of course, he also have Esteban Rodriguez, who did not practice, did not qualify, did not start this race, but did register to start the race, so a bit of an asterisk on that entry as well. You can now see Tucker potentially about to fall back down to 15th place, even as Corey Blevins tries to get around him. Meanwhile, Wetmore, I think he just completed the pass here on Braden Whitaker at 1 and 2.
A group of 4, maybe 5 growing here. Wetmore was one of the cars that we had talked about previously in the battle with Cody Harris for that spot in the championship. But again, not a bad night for Wetmore, P9. But as Cody Harris continues to improve and run in 2nd, looking increasingly more likely that Harris could win out in that battle against Wetmore for 3rd and 4th in the championship. They came into tonight tied in the points. They are also the top 2 running independent drivers with no team affiliation, as Wetmore going to get another spot back, passing that 6 car at Thomas George.
Up and around Thomas George in the Tube Tech number 51 Toyota Supra, running down in the turn numbers 1 and 2, and now next target in his sights, Grant Davis is a Seed Designs Chevrolet running out there in that 7th position. And then from there, it's got about 2 seconds or so, 2.5 seconds up to Jerry Wymaster, who runs up in the 6th position. So I think Wetmore might have to be content to settle for a 7th place finish here, unless he can really find some extra speed underneath that car. And, well, I say that he might be able to get that speed because he was about 2/10 quicker, made that 4/10 quicker than Jerry Wymaster that last lap by. It was a 31.648. Jerry Wymaster was in the 32s.
Fair point. And as we continue to monitor some of the lap times, the 14 machine of Ross notes that he is going to be coming to pit road. Running back in 29th spot, couple of laps down. It was some damage. I think this is a mercy ending for James Ross. He's simply going to go and park that vehicle, and I think Ross's night will come to a close just like that. He'll join the likes of Dunkelberger, Mara, Nieto, Sheen, and Rodriguez as the drivers who are with DNFs this afternoon. That looks like it leaves us 28 cars still on the racetrack as we're inside now of the final 30.
Inside the final 30, about to be inside the final 25 in the last quarter of this race, and in fact the last quarter of the last race of the last IceBreaker Winter Series event here before we get set to reset it all for the very long 2023 Full Throttle Cup Series up ahead of us. Corey Blevins takes it up and high around the outside of Ross Cato in turn number 2, and he will not be able to get that spot back. Ross Cato making that pass work in 1 and 2, and he'll have that speed on the bottom courtesy of some fresher rubber. Blevins might have to settle for 14th place, and he will. Let's get that charge back down this pit straightaway here and in towards turn number 1, but he will not. Blevins going to give up the fight.
He'll bow out of that one. Corey Blevins, somebody else who has made their full season debut here in RealSimRacing competition for this winter series. An impressive 8th in the points, 3 top 10s to his name, as well as driving for Flat Out Esports number 2, who is looking to secure 3rd in the team standings. It was the first of the Flat Out Esports teams who came into tonight's second, and it was Keep It at Real Esports number 2 leading the team standings by 30 points coming into tonight's race. So not only is Agado Phillip, as we look at the battle between the 51 and the 24, looking to be a multi-time RSR champ this year, followed up his Cup Series title with a potential Winter Series championship tonight. But it was also Keep It Real Esports who won the team championship in Cup competition in 2022, and they are also looking to complete the sweep.
Using all the track he possibly can, and then pushing up almost into the door of Grant Davis. He did clip some of that grass on the inside line, but credit to Wetmore, made it work, and he'll continue to lunge to the bottom of Grant Davis to try to get around him. They are both closing in rapidly on Jerry Wymaster for that 6th position up the road, but they are slowing each other down here by fighting each other like this, and now momentum goes back, advantage up top. Look at Grant Davis, he'll hang on to 7th place for lap number 77.
See if we can do it again, though, for lap number 78. On the top side is Davis. Bottom side, Tom Wetmore. Again, Wetmore desperately trying to get up to Cody Harris in 2nd to steal 3rd back in the season points. They were both tied with 198 apiece coming into this evening. Wetmore also looking for his first top 5 of the year. Needs a couple more spots out of it. Right now he's on par for just his 2nd top 10 of the campaign. 22 laps to go. I'm just not seeing at the moment intervals right now anywhere in the top 3 there, Nolan, that would suggest that if Phillip's in danger. But Lariah is starting to close on Cody Harris. Can he finally get P2? He's been trying for about 50 laps.
Trying for about 50 laps, but you got to, of course, still keep that in mind that he still is about 0.7 of a second back. And as we keep saying over and over and over, catching is one thing, passing very much another. And Lariah going to have to find that out the hard way as he still has to catch up to Cody Harris. At this point, he's hit that wall, right? We talked about this before. When you get into some of these drafts, there's always like that little bit of wall that you have to kind of punch through first. You can actually probably get into the hole where all that dirty air is. That wall is what Lariah's been pushing up against for the last 20 laps or so here, trying to see if he can break through it, and he just has not been able to. The dirty air is just too great so far in the corners, especially it looks like in turn number 3 where he seems to be struggling the most. And I have a feeling that this might be one of those fights that we don't see come to fruition until maybe within those last 5 laps, if that.
Yeah, that is true, and remember early in the run when Lariah started to make up time, it was much more noticeable because 10 laps into a run, a 2-lap difference on tires is a decent amount, right? Not trying to do math, it's about 20%, right? When we're 30 laps into a run, 2-lap difference on tires is a third of that, right? So you're looking at not 20%, you're looking at somewhere in the ballpark, only a 6% advantage, right? So that advantage for the fresh tires, if you don't nail it, and you don't get all that time early, it's going to drop in wear, and you're just not going to be as quick lap by lap. Now, you're still going to be a bit better all the way through, but the intervals just aren't going to be the same. And when you get this close, right, where you got that little bit of air, and you lose that tire advantage, he'd really, I think, be killing either stayed out longer, really, right, committed to the overcut, or to have gone for the undercut. But I just don't know if the 2-lap difference was enough to shake off Harris as we take a step down the leaderboard a little bit. Look at the 3-way fight here between Davis, Wetmore, and now Winemaster. This is for 6th, 7th, and 8th.
6th, 7th, in that 8th position. Looking at Wetmore as he continues to try to reel in Grant Davis. He tried to have an attack once a few laps ago, but was never able to make that pass stick. He got the nose ahead, but wasn't able to properly commit and seal the deal. Now Grant Davis, seeing if he can just hang on for these last 17 laps here and make his way to the end of this thing. And it looks like we're going to have another caution-free race here to end out the season, which, hey,
oh, he said it.
I'm happy with that. Hey, Terry's not here. I got to pick up the slack for him, and the commentators curse in that regard. But, hey, I mean, we like to see those types of races, season finales, right? Although I'm pretty sure now that we say that, somebody's going to do something to throw a wrench into the works here.
Well, to be fair, let's be clear. There is no now that we said it. Okay, now that you said it, I have learned over many years of trials and tribulations to never dare the racing gods like that. So if something that would cause us to slow the pace of this race happened, I will take no responsibility for it. But, those hopes that Harris would like to see it, maybe even Wetmore would like to see it, right? We talk about all the different point scenarios hanging in the balance for them. I just wouldn't hold my breath on it.
You'd think I would learn my lesson about this after my real-world drag strip. I jinxed us into a 6-hour rain delay, but old habits die hard, we'll say.
Exactly. And listen, we've seen as somebody's all over the racetrack down the back straightaway. That was the bright orange car. I think just a little bit loose off of the corner for Mike Kaczynski. Nothing too crazy there. He's going to be okay. But again, this racetrack isn't known to catch you on its own, right? Especially at night when you got more grip. If you got a hot, slick afternoon race here in Vegas in the summer, you can see some of those handling issues come in, but we saw the track temps and all that earlier. It's at night, calm, cool conditions as well. I just don't think this is the kind of race where you're going to see people lose it on their own. We've seen incidents tonight. We've seen at least 2 bits of contact, car-to-car contact, that just didn't lead to a yellow because the cars didn't spin up and onto the racetrack. They went off of the racing surface. So we've had our moments, but this isn't a racetrack like a Bristol where you're going to fence it into the wall on your own, or like a Homestead where you might get a little bit loose. I mean, some of those other tracks where you're more used to seeing that, just not what this racetrack is. This is what Vegas is tire strategy, fuel strategy, used in multiple lanes, and playing the long game.
Playing the long game is, I think, always going to be a key factor when it gets to races like these. I mean, even in these sprint races, it's not sprint races, like the dirt stuff, right, where you can get yourself with a 30-lap feature that you can knock out of the way in 5 minutes because the laps are only 15 seconds long. You got a 100-lap race here. It's still a long race compared to most races in that regard, but a sprint race when you compare to what these guys are going to have to contend with in the Real Cup Series, or not. It's not the Real Cup Series, but the Full Throttle Cup Series when we get around come February. And I think that's going to be telling us how these drivers have been managing their strategies here. And so far, I think this has been one of the best series in a while. And trouble received. Durham caution is out. And, well, I'll hit the C for that one.
Well, I told you the moment you brought it up, I was taking no responsibility for this one, and it was not Durham's fault. Let's watch this. He's passing the 22 car on the bottom, and look out the double O. Steve Tucker into the outside wall. A huge hit for Durham onto the bottom, and this race is not done yet.
We got to get a look on board Nicholas Mara, because I don't think I've ever seen a record void that's come that close before. And wow, that is an angle right there, right by the bottom of the track. You saw Durham come off the wall, and here it is on board with Nicholas Mara. And boy, oh boy, hang on. This is going to get wild here in a hurry. You're going to watch Steve Tucker. He's up on top at the moment. Nicholas Mara, they come through 3 and 4. There goes Tucker. You know, he's going to the wall. Strikes off that wall, bounces down right into Durham, jams on the binders, and hops down to the apron.
You can hear him get back onto the throttle to avoid it. I mean, doing everything that he can. And on the race down now, drivers get to come to pit road. This will be the great equalizer, because all of those slight tire advantages and nuances that the pit strategy at the midway point set us up for have now been erased. So it is a pretty easy call, I would think. Drivers probably looking for 4 and fuel the race off of pit road. Agno Phillip maintains it, a 15 flat in the box, nice and clean. Whitaker, I think, may have gone for 2 only, but the popular call there looks like it was 4 tires, and if they added any gas, it was solely for weight and balance, because I don't think they needed any to get to the end. Although now we got to start thinking about possibilities of overtime.
So I have a rule question for you here on this one, Evan. I don't get technical with these things often, but as we all know, there is a caution claim system that the RSR uses, right? Now, Steve Durham took the claim for that caution, but almost immediately after jumped into the voice chat and said, actually, wait, no, I don't want to claim that, because I think he realized what happened, that Steve Tucker bounced off the wall into him. Does that work? Can you unsee a wreck?
So we've had people try to unclaim a caution after the fact, in a post-race, saying I didn't mean to, or I mean, it obviously wasn't me. But I suppose, even though it hasn't been an exact scenario, since the window for claiming the caution is still open up until the one to go, I would say that that's probably okay.
Oh, well, there we go. I think that's kind of fair.
Setting precedent as we speak. I think it makes sense.
I want to point out that immediately after that, Harry Grindel put also into the chat, "Seant."
Yeah, so he's seed and then sciented the caution, so nobody else has claimed it at the moment. So the look between the 10 and the 00 there may be likely to go to a post-race review. Just one more for the admins before this season is up. A couple of cars on a racetrack ahead of Agno Phillip stayed out. That is both the Brandon Feder place and that 10 of Steve Durham. We'll see if they are indeed looking to get the wave around to get back to the lead lap, or if they're just waiting an additional lap to come down for service. But Phillip will have the control car position for one last shootout. They're going to make it as difficult as possible on him. He's going to have to work to close out this championship, and hopefully, if he can finish it out for his sake, get one more race win and end the season with a checkered flag at number 3.
Boy, oh boy, what a way to kick off, a way to end off a season. And 2 drivers staying out to get their laps back. The driver that just crashed, Steve Durham, and Brandon Federplace, all going to stay out. And obviously, Phillip going to take the main one here. And this is where it's going to get interesting, right? Because you'll have these guys coming to the conclusion of it's going to be a 7-lap sprint. I'm going to take a guess on that one. I should probably check the lap count for that. It is going to be a 7-lap sprint for the end of this one. But it'll be an interesting ride to see how this is going to work out for Agno Phillip, right? Because you know these guys behind him, they are really, really good on short runs. Phillip's great on the long run. But usually the short run is where he absolutely thrives. So I'd be shocked if he didn't jump away. But anything can happen when you get cold tires like these.
And will this be the final restart of the year? There are still 25 cars on the lead lap after both Federplace and Durham did indeed take the wave around. A couple of cars to lap down as well. 28 total still in the race. And you take a look at the live points again. Phillip solidly in control by 30 over Michael Araya, who is going to line up directly behind him for this one. Cody Harris holds a 6-point advantage over Wetmore. Harris is P2 on the racetrack, Wetmore P8. So the top 4 in the standings still hang in the balance. Many more fights throughout the top 10 as well. Agnew Phillip was so good on the initial start of this race. He's going to have to do it one more time to lock up what has been a great night so far for him. Pace car down and in with just 7 laps to go. Green flag back in the air.
It's a good launch from the top 3, but everybody else stacking up behind. We're going to go 4 wide, deeper in the field, and they're going to be crashing it up into the outside wall in turns 1 and 2. Tucker's going around, and that's going to be the big one. At least 4 or 5 cars collected. Edwards is around. Staney's up into the outside wall. Tucker collected the most of it. I saw Punkari got into that. I think Grindell had a piece, and Woodruff absolutely drilled Tucker in the driver's side door.
And you can see they did wait to the start finish to then start to spread out, but the 57 went high, the 82 went low, and then it was the 88 car, just not enough room to navigate in the middle there. Maybe thought he was clear of the 00 at Tucker, but Flores gets hooked into the outside wall. 57, 00. Grindel gets a piece in the 70, the 27, the 35. I mean, it's more wrecked race cars that we've seen in the last 2 weeks.
Aren't you proud of what chaos I've unleashed upon this race here, Evan?
We're gonna make you drive in the car if you're gonna want to jinx it. We're gonna go Dylan Coyle throwback and have you be the in-race reporter from inside the car.
That is a throwback, isn't it?
So you got to reap what you sow next time.
Well, considering my wheels off the line by about 4 degrees because I broke a gear in there, I think that'd be an interesting time, and I would absolutely want to take you up.
Perfect in the midfield. Some of the incidents in the midfield, you wonder if they're all driving with a 4-degree off sometimes.
Oh, boy. Well, just name the race, and I will be more than happy. Do you want it to be Martinsville, or do you want it to be Daytona?
I think Martinsville, we're going to have enough yellows. I think the over-under, if I'm a betting man, if there's an iRacing sportsbook, is maybe over-under 16 yellows.
We had 8 that one season.
That one. I'm talking averages, though. I'm just thinking solely based on... you know, numbers, analytics. I'd put it as a very high one, so I don't know if we need to add any additional ones to you. A couple cars to pit road here, but it's all for damage repairs. Also doing Flores will team responsibility for that incident behind the wheel of the number 88 machine. So that'll be an end of the longest line penalty for him, although I'm not sure it matters because his car is on pit road and may not even make it back on track.
So Phillip leads from Laraya, Harris, Trudell, and Whittaker for the top 5. Phipps, Davis, Wetmore, Schmidt, and Weimaster will bring out the top 5 rows. Flores has taken the responsibility for the latest caution on the racetrack, caution flag number 2. And don't think this is going to put us into overtime just yet. We have 4 laps to go this time by the line. I think we might be looking at either a 3-lap dash or a natural green-white checkered.
Talking about the throwbacks, I mean, I remember when you would get the before overtime and green white checkers and all that was the thing on the service that you would routinely get like a 1-lap dash, and those were always crazy because the cars couldn't even get all the way up to speed by that point. Flores has gotten onto the racetrack, so he will have to receive the end of the longest line of penalty. But up towards the front, lights on the pace car stayed on at best, Nolan. If they go out next time at 3 to go, yeah, I think we're going to get a 2-lap dash. I think it is going to be a natural green-white checker.
It's going to be a 2-lap dash regardless. It's just a question of are we going to be using one of our overtime attempts, or are we going to be having this one still finish under regulation time? And I think it'll be under regulation unless something happens again on this initial restart lap. And then from there, we do still have 3 overtime attempts. So we technically got 4. We got a bit of a freebie here. We could call this one the mulligan, I guess. And that, again, will make things interesting because now these guys have been out there for a lot longer than they wanted to at very much less than optimal speeds. those tires going to be cooling off pretty rapidly, and I saw a couple of guys on their pit exits getting a bit loose in turn number 3 when they were still getting up to speed, so we'll have to watch that mid-pack. It might get a bit dicey as guys might slip and slide on some cold rubber here coming to that white flag.
Drivers also confirming that they got the 2 to go the last time by, so you will see the lights on top of the pace car go dark this time through, and it'll set us up for one more dash. It'll be either attempt number 1 of 1 in regulation, or it'll end up being attempt number 1 of 4. We are capped at as many as 3 overtime restart attempts if necessary. It'll be once again championship leader Agnew Phillip with a healthy gap. Just needs to get this race car back around for 4.5 more miles to be crowned champion. Lariah in second, trying to hang on to third of the points. You got, or second in the points, you got Cody Harris there as well. You got the Wetmore battle as well. So a couple more things to be tied up. 24 cars still with a shot, in theory, of improving their position before this race is all said and done. Phillip, we talk about all the dominance that he's had. The story had always been Freenach. Did Matt Danson rock the boat? Stole a Winter Series title from Freenach a couple of years ago, but wasn't able to do it in the Cup Series this year, despite being in the championship. For the man to break that streak was Agnew Phillip, and now possibly just moments away from becoming the first driver since Freenach to win a title in both of RSR's most premier divisions. Pace car going to be in this time, leaving us with 2 laps to go. Still inside regulation in Las Vegas. It's Phillip. He has to wait for the restart zone. Green flag back in the air.
Back up into the air, and already Phillip clear by 3. Got some drivers skirting with that apron, trying to make moves down to the turn number 1. 3 wide. Thomas George up the bottom with Casto, and Weimester way up top. Make that 3 wide, 2 rows deep, as they'll double file it, triple file it now down the Nellis straightaway for the second to last time today. Down to 3 and 4. Phillip still holds clear, and there's still 3 abreast in the mid-pack. They'll get out turn number 4. Look out, one car sliding off the 25 into the outside wall, drifting downhill, wipe out half the field, but they take the white flag. This race is in the books.
They get the white flag, so this race is official. Battle for second still on. Lariah on the door of Harris. Here comes Trudell. It's going to be a 3-way fight for second, but in front of all of it is Agnew Phillip, looking for his 3rd win in only 8 weeks and his first title in the winter. Final time off of 4. Agnew Phillip wins in Las Vegas and captures the IceBreaker Winter Series Championship.
What a way to end out the season there. Agnew Phillip taking one last hard-earned win, and now that the Winter Series is done, he's done the sweep. Now we try to see if he can become the second Andrew Freenach and start to dominate this league and go for a 3rd consecutive title and a 2nd consecutive one in the Full Throttle Cup Series.
Agnew becomes one of only a handful to ever win the Winter Series Championship. We've seen the likes of Chad Cole, David Comstock, Matt Danson, Andrew Freenach, and now Agnew Phillip as Winter Series champions. But again, only the 2nd to ever win a Cup title and win a Winter title, and he does it in consecutive campaigns. The 2022 Cup Series champ is your 2023 Winter Series champion as well. Agnew Phillip comes up all aces in Las Vegas and walks it off with a victory in the final race of the season, and that is a deserving celebration for sure. We knew Phillip had talent when he entered this series a couple of years ago. Man, has it been a good 12 months for him.
And he will burn it down under the Nevada lights, as he will set Las Vegas Motor Speedway alight with smoke as he'll burn it down on the front straightaway for the final time before we get set for the Full Throttle Cup Series over in February. Work has just begun in 2023 for the A51 Pro Chevrolet, and now it's time to look forward back to the future and see what he'll be able to do for us here on what should be another very exciting 30-plus race season coming on up here in come February.
It absolutely should be. Let's take a look at your RealSimRacing to full race results tonight. Agno Phillip gets the win ahead of that great battle for second. Cody Harris, Kyle Trudell, and Michael Lariah will all come home in that order. Of course, drivers in that mix were included in some of the big championship talking points we referenced earlier. Lariah falling to fourth. He will have to settle for second in the title fight, and a great P2 for Harris means that he'll finish ahead of Wetmore in the battle for third and fourth in the points. Davis was top 5, then Schmidt, then the aforementioned Tom Wetmore with that 7th. Braden Whitaker, Sean Casto, and Jaron Weinmaster, your top 10.
11th place brings up Corey Blevins with Thomas George in 12th. Gregory Shaw was 13th with Harry Gradell in 14th. Nicholas Mara was in 15th place with Brandon Fetterplace in 16th. Minati Major brings up 17th with Joseph Tyson 18th. Steve Durham in a late race crash is forced to relegate back in 19th place with Flores bringing up the top 20.
And to round things out tonight, it is Pancari, Tucker, Phipps, and Cato on the lead lap with Kaczynski, Edwards, and Woodruff still in this race. A couple of DNFs to go around to Staney, Ross, Dunkelberger, and the final couple of drivers at the rear, Mara, Nieto, and Sheen. That's a look top to bottom at your full race results tonight. Let's go down and talk with the champion. Agno Phillip is the 2023 RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series champion. We are trackside with the driver of the number 94 machine now. Agno, congratulations.
Thanks, Evan. That was a fun race. We had a really good long run there. Great season. Kind of glad to be able to put together really consistent one of these. Really wanted to win this championship. I've been wanting to win it since I started in RSR a couple years ago, but just could never put together a full season until this year. And I hope I earned it, and it's nice to kind of make it to, I guess they're not technically back-to-back championships, but back-to-back RSR trophies.
Well, let's start there. You started this year, or I should say ended last year, snapping the Andrew Freenosh dominance over the Cup Series, a title that he had won for 4 consecutive seasons. And then you follow it up by matching his record, being the only driver to win a title in both of RSR's most premier series. I was just saying, what a year it's been for you. I mean, you're just absolutely rolling, and to be able to do it in 2 very different disciplines of cars against, 2 relatively different fields with a couple of new faces in either and or. I mean, it is really impressive to see what you've done.
Yeah, I appreciate that. When I say we, I mean I put in a lot of effort into trying to get better this year, and I think I've really started to hit my stride. And I will say racing in this league has a lot to do with it. Just being able to race against the competition here has been a huge help, and I'm honored to be able to kind of do some of the things that Andrew's done. He will forever be the GOAT in this league. So if I can keep doing repeats of what he's done over the last 4 or 5 years, I think we'll be in all right shape here. Really interested to see what the Cup for next season's Cup Series roster looks like. See who returns and who some of the new blood is. It'll be really interesting to see that, and along with the regulars like Michael and Cody and some of the other guys who've been around for a bit and are always a joy to race. So really looking forward to kind of hopefully carrying this momentum through beyond this.
Well, it's a joy as well to watch you now as one of those regulars and as one of those veterans. We were talking as you were coming across the finish and doing the burnouts about how when you first started in RSR and to see that progression and to now be a 2-time RSR champion, doing it at both the Cup level and at the winter level is super impressive. We won't keep you for too long, Agnel, because I'll try to give you as much off-season time, even minute by minute as possible, because that Cup Series schedule is right around the corner. But at least tonight, for one final time on this Winter Series campaign, we've got you in victory lane as a race winner here tonight in Vegas and as the series champion. Who do you want to say hi to?
I want to say hi to my family, who I know are watching. Glad that they were able to see another championship run and a few wins this year. And thanks to the team at A51 Pro, we're waiting for the Road to Pro schedule, but I think we'll have some exciting new additions to the team, and I'm looking forward to that. And then to my partner Claire for putting up with this hobby and being very supportive of it. And to you, Evan, and Nolan, and everybody else who puts on the broadcasts and the league. Like I said, this league is. I'm very thankful for the space to race in this league and against these people, and it wouldn't be possible without you and the others who make the races work and put it out so that people like my family can watch it. So I appreciate that. But yes, looking forward to 2 weeks of off-season time here before the Cup Series season starts.
Make everything you can count out of it, Agnell. We appreciate you being here. Again, it's a pleasure to have you racing with us on Monday nights, and congratulations.
Appreciate it, Evan. Thanks.
He's your race winner tonight at Las Vegas, a 3-time winner this year, but most importantly, that is your Winter Series champion. It is Agnell Phillip in 2023. We'll continue on down through the top 3 finishers here tonight. It'll be Nolan Rempel down trackside with both of them. First with Cody Harris.
And Cody, it was a fight that you had to really work for to keep Michael Araya at bay for a majority of this race. You had to work with him all the way down to the first pit stop, but then you had to contend with him all the way up until Kyle Trudell got by for that 3rd position, but you hang on to take the runner-up spot here for Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Why don't you walk us through what the race was like from your end, having to fight back all those guys for so many laps?
Yeah, it was a good race. Congrats to Agnell on the win and the championship. He's got some incredible speed. Just keep working to try and figure out what he's doing. Yeah, I got to get a little better at qualifying because clean air is important. Starting 6th wasn't ideal, but then I was able to get to 3rd pretty quick and then had a battle with Liam around, I think it was lap 30, and then got some clean air. And then, yeah, Laraya also, he was just flying at the end of those long runs. But I knew with where I could position my car, it'd be hard for him to get around, especially once he got close. You just get so tight with the dirty air. But yeah, it was just a good fun race all around.
So we sum up the RSR Winter Series season for you as a whole. I do believe we'll be able to take the 3rd position overall then in the championship. Does that feel good to be able to walk away with the podium, not just in this last race, but in the point standings as well?
Yeah, it does feel pretty good. A little disappointed maybe not to be in 2nd. I think Daytona, I was leading on the last lap, and then wreck happened, and then there was one other race that cost me some points. But yeah, overall, I think in every race I finished, I was in the top 5, so got to be happy with that.
And of course, you've shown that you're still, as always, a force to contend with here in the Winter Series season. But come the Cup Series in February, do you still plan to see if you can go out and lock away as many wins as you can and see if you can go for a title here in 2023?
Yeah, that's the plan. I like the Cup car overall, and really looking forward to it. There's a lot of tough competition here, so try and do the best I can and try and get some more wins.
Well, hopefully we'll be seeing you plenty more times throughout the rest of this year. And Cody, it's always a pleasure to be able to get the chance to talk to you. Congratulations on the 2nd place and the 3rd place in the championship. We'll be seeing you hopefully again when we come around to Daytona.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you guys for putting this on each and every week. It's a lot of fun.
It's Cody Harris joining us up here from that 2nd spot up on the podium, and we'll move things on down. I'll move one step over down to Kyle Trudell, who brings it up in 3rd. Kyle, one of the biggest movers of the race so far for you. You were flying for the duration of this race, 16th to 3rd. What's your secret?
Yeah, it was just really trying to conserve the tires there in the first run. Knew we had, a pit stop coming up. It looked like it had that green flag feel, and sure enough, that's the way it went. So I was happy to. I'm glad it went that way because I can, try to make up some ground there on pit road and running with the teammates up there. We kind of just stuck to that plan initially, and then I ended up, after the pit stop, trying to go a little bit harder and kind of used up some tire there, but ultimately it was just maintaining.
You were able to work your way up through a good chunk of the field in the early goings, and then, of course, even more as you got close and close towards the end of the runs, and especially down towards those last portions of the race when you worked your way from 10th to 4th between the space of the green flag stops and that final caution. So why don't we look over that 2nd run? What was so different that allowed you to suddenly gain so much on the top 5 there?
Yeah, I wasn't totally sure. To be honest, I was kind of conservative getting on the pit road, but I think I just had a good outlap, and just got on it. and I don't know if anybody else had any trouble or what, but I think I probably made up some time on my own, and not sure what else happened. I'll have to go back and review it. But then I was just trying to, really make up some time, and I could tell Lariah was quicker there. I made it to third, so I ended up just kind of letting him go. He had a little fresher tire than I did, so I figured he was going to hunt for the lead. So was happy to maintain fourth if I could have stayed there.
And then, of course, on that final green-white checkered finish, you managed to make that jump on Lariah up to third place. Wasn't quite able to run down Harris, but why don't you walk us through what those last 2 laps were like and how that differed from the rest of the 9 laps that preceded it?
Oh, he's a little sketchy, right, on the restarts, especially having them back-to-back like that. It kind of just ramps up the heart rate and things get a little tense. But, yeah, I was happy to be on the outside. That's where I wanted to be in restart. Just because if anything did happen with the leaders getting racing, I was hoping to have most of the outside to have some room and, maybe pull off a win if they got to really racing. But, these guys up here are pretty strong, and, they always race really clean. I managed to get to Lariah's outside there. I think it looked like he had gotten really tight on the bottom, and, I was the benefactor of that coming out of 4. But a good run.
Well, thank you for taking the time to lend us your insights again, Kyle, and hopefully we'll be talking to you plenty more times at the Full Throttle Cup Series over in 2023. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations on the third place finish, and best of luck come February at Daytona.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I'll definitely be registering for the Cup Series and making as many races as possible. I want to give a shout out to the team, of course. We had a good run, all of us, XPM tonight. So, nice to see some progress there, and huge congratulations as well to Chris Edwards and our XPM team and LMP2 for their Daytona 24-hour win. That's pretty huge for the team, and with such a prestigious event like that, it's really cool to see.
Well, in that case, I'll pass on my congratulations for that 24 hours of Daytona win as well. And again, best of luck then come February.
All right, appreciate you guys.
That's Kyle Trudell joining us up here from that third place. And Evan, that's going to wrap it up then for your podium drivers from Las Vegas, Nevada.
That'll indeed do it. And again, the final margin of victory in terms of the championship at 31 points to Agno Phillip. It is Lariah second, Harris third, Wetmere fourth, and Grant Davis in fifth. But, Blevins, Phipps, Staney, how about Grindle up there in the number 9 spot as well, Nolan? We talk about what it was like to see Agno Phillip go from where he was just a couple of seasons ago to now being the first driver to join Andrew Freenosh as a champion in both the Winter Series and the Cup Series. And I look at a lot of that list at some of those new names, some of the names that have, now competed for a second full calendar year or a third full calendar year. And I think maybe the question now becomes, not who is the next Andrew Freenosh anymore, but who's the next Agno Phillip. I think that's a fair thing to question. I know that Agnel is somebody who came through the system, who didn't just show up here and dominate, right? Like a guy like a Kevin King, Nolan, is one of the best drivers on the service, right? With all of his background. He shows up, he wins. Agnel didn't show up as a Road to Pro Coke Series level contender immediately. And we've seen him grow and grow. And, I love about RSR is that you see both. You see some of the top talent on the sim, and you see the next generation grow right here on Monday nights. And I think that's the best way to classify Agno Phillip now.
I think Agno Phillip has a whole lot of potential underneath him, and I think for the performances that we've seen from him both at the end of the 2022 Cup Series and the 2022/23 Winter Series season, he has the potential to become this league's next Andrew Freenosh. He becomes that next guy that you will have to work your butt off to see if you can topple him at the top of the boards, and I think it is going to take everything that all these drivers have to make sure that he cannot go back-to-back when we get down to that Full Throttle Cup Series in Florida now.
You have to start thinking, if Freenosh doesn't come back, if Kevin King can't compete due to his other obligations, who's going to challenge Agno, right? Who is going to step up? Is it going to be Danson again? If Danson doesn't come back, who's going to come back, right? Those round of 8, those round of 16 Cup drivers, who is going to make that step and contend with Agnell Phillip. Of course, the Winter Series successful, another season now, 8 seasons of Winter Series competitions behind us, but the 12th year of the Cup Series is just upon us, and Agnell was very correct that it is only a couple of weeks ago, and we are happy to introduce for the first time the 2023 RealSimRacing Full Throttle Cup Series calendar, with the duels coming up in just a handful of weeks on February the 13th, and matching a lot of those changes, Nolan, that you've seen with the Cup Series as well. You've got a road course race in Chicago, the street road course as well in Sonoma gets added back. The All-Star race going to be happening at Wilkesboro. You got your dirt stop at Bristol, your pavement stop, and New Hampshire's back on, Dover's there, Pocono's back, some tracks that weren't always guaranteed to be on this calendar a couple of years ago. So that is a look at what is to come in 2023.
And like you mentioned before, absolutely packed season, and it'll kick off all on Monday, February 13th with the duels at Daytona, followed by the obviously the very famed 250-mile race for 100 laps on February the 20th. And there's a lot of fast tracks to cover the season. You've got Daytona, Auto Club, Las Vegas, before you finally slow down to Phoenix, only to speed it right up again up to Atlanta. There is a lot to do over in those opening races, and I think by the time we get down to Richmond, we'll be seeing who the trends are and who we'll really have to look out for. I would be shocked if Phillip wasn't at the top of the boards already.
And if you are interested in competing in the 2023 Full Throttle RealSimRacing Cup Series, the way to do that is to make sure you join the RealSimRacing Discord. So find us anywhere on social media, on Twitter at RealSimRacing, on Facebook at facebook.com/RealSimRacing online. Make sure to join the RSR Discord. Priority registration opens tomorrow for Winter Series drivers, but if you're somebody new, make sure you join us on Discord and find out more information, because the next time we will say good evening SimRacing fans with you is in just about 3 weeks time on Monday, February the 13th for the RealSimRacing duels at Daytona. Until next time though, that is it for this 2023 Winter Series campaign. On behalf of all of our drivers at RealSimRacing, for our partners, for RaceSpotTV, and everybody who has made these broadcasts possible all season long, including your broadcast team tonight of our director downstairs, Joshua Lee, Nolan Rempel, and myself, Evan Pasoko. I want to thank you all for tuning in and give one final congratulations to Agnell Phillip, the 2023 RealSimRacing IceBreaker Winter Series champion.